Hello there, Atheist Junior here, your friend and humble narrator, and I'm back with a new stream that's going to be a little bit different today, because uh, somebody sort of challenged me to tackle a higher sort of class of um, Christian YouTuber, and since we all know that Ken Hovind is pretty bottom of the barrel. And, I've certainly made my share of videos on him. And I know that my viewers enjoy those videos. I enjoy making them. But I've got quite a few new subscribers, new viewers recently. I got about 500 new subscribers in the past 28 days. So, um, I want to I'm always trying to branch out the content that I'm making. So let's get started. I'm going to be uh, responding to this live stream replay from Mike Winger. And it's over an hour long, so I couldn't possibly respond to all the questions in the video. So I picked out a select like 4. So I'm going to try and just tackle those, and we'll see how far we get. Inspiring philosophy. Yeah, if you guys have any suggestions or links to videos or channels that you would like to see me respond to, definitely put them in the comments, because I have trouble finding other people to respond to, because Kent is just so perfect to respond to. You know what I mean? Because he's such a character. He's such a lol cow. But yeah, we're gonna try a little bit from this guy who's one of the most popular Christians on YouTube.
Here we go. Welcome to the non-Christian Q&A. This is where I'm going to answer questions from non-believers, and that means you could be Muslim, you could be New Age, you could be pagan, you could be atheist, agnostic. You're just not a Christian. And I'd love to hear your questions. Don't hold back. Bring them now. Put them in the live chat, and I'll be taking a bunch of them, 19 at least. And this will be the first question I pulled off of Instagram. Or I think my wife pulled off Instagram and actually sent to me. The first question we're going to cover is this. You don't need religion to have morals. If you can't determine right from wrong, then you lack empathy, not religion.
Okay, so that's not a question. We're off to a good start.
And so I have a number of these memes. If we don't get enough questions from a non-Christian perspective, I'll use the memes. And just in case anybody's wondering, if you're a Christian but you have a question from a non-Christian perspective, you're welcome to put that in the chat. I want to answer the questions that non-Christians ask. That's the goal of today's live stream. And we do this every Friday at 1 p.m. and you're always welcome to come and ask any questions from any perspective you like. I just want to especially highlight those kinds of questions today. So, this I've seen before many times in different forms, this particular meme that we're looking at on the screen while you guys are loading your questions in the chat. You just put a capital Q to put your question in if it's your first time. So it says you don't need religion to have morals. This is obviously meant to be a response to religion or to religious people or claims that religious people are making. Sometimes when you respond to a claim, though, you're misrepresenting people in that you pretend they're making a claim they're not making. And
Remember that he said that. It's going to come up very soon.
in this case, at least with Christianity, we don't say you need religion to have morals. Like, this is something, and I know some Christians think fuzzy about this issue, and they might.
I've seen lots of Christian YouTubers say that exact thing. They say that atheists have to borrow Christian morals, which by implication means that we do not have morals of our own, so we have to borrow Christian morality.
I'd even say that. You don't have morals without religion. Well, no, actually, even Christianity teaches non-believers have morals. This is in Romans 1. In fact, it's one of the reasons why God brings judgment to people is because they do know right from wrong, whether or not they're Christian, whether or not they have any particular religion. They know right from wrong. This is given as a granted in Scripture. It is from, and also when you look around the world, everybody's aware of moral truth.
So people who are not religious know right from wrong. So are you agreeing? I know you're not agreeing with what this says, but it sounds to me like you're describing you don't need religion to have morals, which is 100% true in my opinion.
Even though it's viewed slightly different ways in different cultures, but there's still a sort of a grounding of moral belief that is just permeates society. And only when you get into certain degrees of higher education can someone talk you out of it. I mean, it's and they shouldn't. I think that's lower education in higher education, but that does happen. So Christianity is actually teaching the opposite. It's teaching that you have morals, right? So he says if you can't determine right from wrong, then you lack empathy, not religion. And that that's a clumsy, in my opinion, a clumsy way of saying it. I would say if you can't determine right from wrong, you lack moral discernment. I don't know about empathy exactly, because empathy is one tool in determining right from wrong, but there are other tools. And if empathy is our only moral tool, we will actually make bad moral judgments. And I think this happens in our culture today.
I disagree with that. I think empathy is the foundation or the cornerstone of having good intrapersonal relationships when it comes to treating people morally, treating people in a way that shows you know the difference between right and wrong. Because what is the golden rule? The golden rule is treat others how you would like to be treated. Well, that is basically just a description of empathy. Don't mistreat people because you know that you would not like to be mistreated. Like, um, the people in the chat, they're not going to tell me, oh, well, screw you, AJ, because they know that they would not like it if I told them, screw you, person in the chat. Or if I don't want to get punched in the face, so I do not punch other people in the face because I have pain receptors and I know that that would cause me injury. So I know via empathy, not that I shouldn't do that. So if you have empathy and that's all you have, you are a lot better off than a lot of people living today. A lot of people that I've met don't have empathy or have very poor empathy.
Take, for instance, I'll just be controversial. Take the abortion issue. People have
Let me just be controversial and brave for a second.
empathy for women and women's rights, so they feel as though they should support abortion. But that empathy is here putting them off the rails because they're not thinking of the living human being who, there's no debate on this. Babies from the moment of conception are A, alive, and B, human. Living human being. There's no empathy for that person, that human being that's alive. And so we have empathy.
So just a few moments ago, he said that when you talk about a claim that somebody is making, then you don't want to misrepresent that claim. Well, Mike Wingard just misrepresented every person who is pro-choice. I think I'm pro-choice, and he basically just said that every person who's pro-choice has no empathy for the unborn, has no empathy for they have empathy if a woman is planning on getting an abortion or using her right as a human being to exercise her bodily autonomy and exercise her right to reproductive health care, then I only have empathy for her. I only have empathy for her, but not for the unborn child. And this is missing another point in the fact that it's not only cisgender women who can become pregnant. I know conservative fundamentalist Christians struggle with this concept, but stick with me. Okay, so if somebody is assigned female at birth and they realize that they have gender dysphoria and that they need to transition and present as a male and do everything that that entails to live a comfortable life and have proper mental health, then that means that they could be presenting as 100% male, could look just like me with facial hair, but they still have a uterus, which means they could still get pregnant, which means that they could potentially need an abortion. I know it sounds like a silly concept if you read about it in a YouTube comment section, but there are real people that have this issue. So that's just something that I want to make sure we don't forget um, about when we're talking about this issue. But no, I think And he said there's no debate. It's that it's at conception, it's a human, and I forget what else he said. It's a child or something like that. That okay? If there's no debate on that, yeah, we nobody is saying that it's not a human. The debate is, to me, the important issue in the debate is it a sentient individual, and has it developed the nerve endings that allow it to feel pain? And before 21 weeks, the growing fetus does not have nerve endings and cannot feel pain. And only 1% of abortions happen after 21 weeks. It's only in emergency situations like uh, fetal anomalies, or if the mother's life is in danger, that this happens, or if barriers are put in place, like if you have a government who bans abortion and a woman has to travel for such a long period of time, or it takes such a long time to find a clinic that will actually perform the surgery, that it's now become past the 21-week mark. So it's extremely rare. So, in my opinion, that's the more important debate.
Empathy as a rule for our moral gauge, that empathy can really mess things up, actually, if that's our only tool. So here's where religion comes in. If religion is false, it's a bad tool for discovering moral truth.
No, biological men cannot get pregnant.
Islam is an example, I think, right? So in Islam, there's such things as honor killings. Honor killing a family member, if they turn from Allah and they become a Christian, an atheist, something like that, then you can actually kill them to restore your family's honor. It's okay to spread your religion through the sword. That's a bad moral rule because Islam is a false religion. But let's just say hypothetically for the non-believer, think of it this way. If you had God himself who could come and speak clarity about moral truth into the diverse and confused human world where we know that morals are real, but we often struggle with understanding what's right at the right moment, that would be a wonderful blessing, wouldn't it, to have that?
I mean, I don't feel like that's a question that I can properly answer, because there's so many other things that you have to tack onto that. Because first you would have to say, okay, in this hypothetical, God actually exists, and there are moral situations where I don't know if there is a proper right or wrong answer. A lot of times, that's the thing about morality, is that you have gray areas where sometimes what is the right thing to do? It's like if if a robber, if a murderer uh, kidnaps a woman's two children, and she says, you have to decide which of the child lives, and because I'm gonna kill the other one. There's no right choice to that. That guy's just a maniac. There's no right answer. You know what I mean? So Eve, I don't think that God. What is God going to come down and say? Well, he got better grades and he's better looking and he's going to grow up to be more successful. And if you let this one live, he's going to get in a car accident when he's 16 anyway. So I mean, you might as well do him in now.
Discernment and direction from God. So the next question is Christianity true? If I can show it's true, then I can have accurate and clear moral truth. So when we see these claims, you don't need religion to have morals. No, that's not something we're claiming that you do.
Absolutely, Randolph. Absolutely. Yeah, I don't know what the whole thing about Islam was. I don't know what that had to do with the question.
Have to have religion to have morals. Although religion, if it's true, any religion that's true would be a good tool to add to our empathy, along with other things, to understand morals better and engage more morally in society. So I think that's just for the sake of clarity. On the flip side, while I'm still waiting for my first questions to come in, on the flip side, I'd also add that there's a moral argument for God that's really interesting. And it's not you need God in your life as a person to have morals. This is something very, very different than that. I hope you hear me. It's instead is this idea that if morals are real, if we're all around the world perceiving morals as an objective reality, not just hardline moral rules that you apply always without consideration of circumstances, but rather morals as just an objective reality, then that implies that there's some sort of moral source. There's a God, I think is the best explanation, that God is the grounding for moral truth because he's a personal and holy being. And this in Christian theology, God is holy. That becomes the grounding of moral truth, so that when we all look around and we go, hey, that's right, that's wrong, we're not making it up. We're actually looking into the world and we're perceiving moral realities.
Or maybe evolution is true, and based on the fact that we are a social species, it was beneficial to our early ancestors to not kill family members and kill other people needlessly, or injure other people needlessly. But in fact, it was better to stick together as a tribe so you could more effectively hunt, eat, and kill the wildebeest or whatever, and get food, and you would share as a community. And these moral principles have just been passed on because it was selected for through natural selection, and it was advantageous to our evolution to be a social species. And we've not always succeeded at that, but I would say that that's a perfectly rational explanation, because I don't think that there are objective morals. I don't think objective morality is a thing, because, like I said, there are going to be moral gray areas where there is not an objective right or wrong answer. So there.
That are stemming from God's very nature. But if there was no God, it's hard to explain those moral realities without some things that sound pretty fanciful. All right, we'll go to the first question coming from the live chat. This is from Mike Grigas.
Okay, I'm going to skip ahead a little bit, so just give me 1 second.
Remembering these things from a past life could be getting that information from a deceitful spirit. I think that is entirely possible, and I've seen it with my own eyes, where some of the people who go into these I'm reincarnated and they go real deep into it, how they get spiritually dark and spiritually weird and scary. And so that would seem to be a soft confirmation that there's something evil, demonic going on in that situation. Now, as far as The Simpsons predicting the future many times, I've heard that was a hoax, so you might want to check into that.
They literally predicted that Trump was going to become president.
Yeah, I've heard that was a hoax. I haven't really verified it, but yeah. We'll go to question number 4. JJ says, was I ever really saved and had a relationship with Christ if I left heterosexuality and embraced my same-sex attraction and married my wife?
Well, in my opinion, no. You wouldn't have been saved either way, because being saved is a concept that doesn't actually have any reality to it. But I personally think that this kind of idea that, because I've heard Ken Hovind say this about a lot of atheists, like Apologia. He says, "Oh, were you ever? You say you were Christian, but were you ever born again? Did you have an experience with Jesus, and were you born again?" And it just seems odd to me to think that somebody can attend church and read the Bible and live their life as a Christian and do all of those things, and then retroactively you decide, oh, well, because they are an atheist, that means they were never saved in the first place. I mean, it just seems like, uh, kind of a wishy-washy concept. Like especially because Ken Hovind says you can never lose your salvation. So he says basically that you were never saved in the first place. So that means that it's possible for somebody to say that I accept Jesus Christ and live their entire life as a Christian and still go to hell, even if they think they're doing everything right, because they didn't get saved in the correct way at the beginning. That's what I find troubling.
So JJ, I'm a little on the fence on this topic, but let me give you like a couple things in response to this. One is theologically, because there's a theological question, then there's a very deeply personal question. Okay, let me answer the theological question first. Theologically, I am on the fence as to whether or not someone can lose their salvation. I'm on the fence on the topic, and I know that that drives some people really crazy, and I don't like it. I'm not on the fence because it makes me please everybody, because guess what? I'm making people upset on both sides. When I say this, I personally, as a limited human being, just don't know the right answer to that question yet. As I get into a Hebrews verse-by-verse study,
Well, I guess it's too bad. Oops. I guess it's too bad that God can't come down and from on high and give us the correct answer. I pressed the wrong button on my Stream Deck.
up after my Women in Ministry series I'm doing right now. When I get into Hebrews, I'm going to pause and I'm going to do a little research project on this topic, and I'm going to try to come out with the best answer I can. So I may have more details theologically later on. But I don't know how to apply that well to your situation. Even if I had a theological answer, it's difficult to apply that to you individually, personally.
I mean, is it really? Because the Bible is very clear that if you have a homosexual relationship, then that means, and I'm assuming that this is a woman because she said same-sex attraction and that she married her wife, that you should be put to death, you should be stoned, and your blood is upon your hands, that it's on you. It's your fault for doing what you should have known was a sin. It's a sin, and God said that the wages of sin is death. So the payment of sin is death. So I guess the real question is not should you be saved, but should this person have been executed by a biblical law? And I know some people might say, well, that was the Old Testament, and those laws applied to the Jews. Well, Jesus came and said that he was going to not change the Mosaic law given in the first 5 books of the Bible, but to uphold them, that not one jot or tittle of the law would be changed. So, I say, why are you worrying about whether or not you are saved? You better watch out for rocks being thrown at you.
Because here's what I see happening on the internet all the time. Let's say for those who think that someone, if they leave Christianity, that they have that they were never Christian. That's their belief. If you left, you were never a Christian. For John, they went out from us because they were not among us. They weren't really one of us. And that's the verse they'll use. That's the thing they'll say about you. What they're doing is they're answering theologically over here. Hey, theologically, I believe that this is the situation, but you don't hear the theology. You hear a personal attack against your sincerity, right? Like, so I wasn't really genuine. And you're thinking back and you're like, man,
I do agree with that. I think that that's a true assessment.
feel like I was really genuine. I just feel like you're being a jerk to me and you're just saying mean things about me because I'm like intimidating your religious beliefs or something. And I think a lot of times it's not intimidating. It's people are trying to answer a theological question, but they don't realize it's hitting somebody personally right in the face. And so I think it's just really unhelpful to do this. I'm going to tell you, you were never really a Christian. You were never really, well, they don't hear they were never a Christian. They hear they were never sincere, that they were never genuine, that their heart was never really in something. And I don't want to say that. I don't want to say that to somebody. And I don't feel that it's actually helpful to say it either. And I don't know them. So when you ask this question, I left heterosexuality, embraced my same-sex attraction, and married my wife. You said, was I ever really saved? This implies to me that you are not currently a Christian. And the topic today is non-Christian. So I'm going to assume behind the background of this question is that you're not currently a Christian. You're asking if you ever really had a relationship with God. Let me put this to you. I'll flip the tables on you a little bit and say this. How do you answer this question? Were you ever really saved? If you were really saved, but you chose a lifestyle, to embrace a lifestyle that felt very important to you and valuable and part of your very identity, but it was a skewed lifestyle. It was a lot involving a lot of goods, but in a tainted fashion so that it's not honoring to God. But you came into that and you said, hey, I'm going to commit to this. If you believe that you lost your salvation, then that means that you think God is real and you had a relationship with him and that Christianity is true. in which case I'm inviting you back. Like if you're thinking I was genuine and there was something real there, I had real experiences with Jesus, because that means please come back. If nothing else, I'm just saying please come back. Can I just sideline a little bit of these issues and beg you to return to Christ and follow him no matter the cost? And there is a cost. You read about it in the scripture. Jesus is like, hey, take up your cross and follow me. So I'm sorry I'm not fully answering all your question there, because I don't know the whole answer. So let's go to the next.
I actually don't really have a problem with that answer. I think that was a pretty good answer. I don't know if he really addressed the part about the same-sex thing. Also, I hate that term same-sex attraction. That's a very loaded term. It's like when Christians talk about somebody having their lifestyle choices. That's a code word for being gay. So it's not same-sex attraction. It's a sexual orientation. Because attraction I mean, you can't control who you're attracted to. But same-sex attraction, it's used in the context of fighting your same-sex attraction, overcoming your same-sex attraction. There are Christian pamphlets that have titles like that, overcoming it, as if it's something that's wrong with you, and it's something that you need to change about yourself, something that you need to fix, or else, you're not going to be saved or you're going to go to hell. I mean, the Bible's pretty clear about this. So this is, what I dislike about Christianity is because it causes people to have these anxieties, and, propagating terms like same-sex attraction, plays into that. Okay, so we're going to get into the really juicy questions now. So just give me one second. Thank you to all the people watching in the live chat. I know this video is probably not going to get as many views because it's different, but I appreciate you guys for sticking with me on this late night stream. You could be anywhere else in the world right now, but you chose to hang out with me. So thank you. Thank you.
And other illnesses, and if as well. This is shout out. Number 15, Gabriel C. says, why does God allow children to get cancer and other terminal illnesses?
Yikes. Why does God let them? No, God designed them to have those illnesses. I mean, if God is the designer, then I feel like you can't have it both ways, where you say, look at my beautiful baby. Look at the sunset. Look at the trees and how beautifully designed they are. Look at the jaguar and the peacock, and they're so beautiful. And then at the same time say, well, I don't want to give God credit for intestinal parasites and the Black Plague and the ticks that carried the Black Plague, the fleas, and children having leukemia. I feel like you can't have it both ways, and if God didn't design it, he certainly allowed it. So I'm interested to hear what he says.
Gabriel, this is challenging for a number of reasons, but I want to challenge you a little bit as well. So I don't know why God allows children to get terminal cancer and other illnesses. And if you just asked me, Mike, you want to snap your fingers and stop all that from happening, I would probably do it in a heartbeat. So this puts us in a frustrating situation. God, you're running the world in a way, and in some ways that are infuriating to us and it hurts our hearts, and even just hearing about it, let alone being a family who's experiencing it. I know Christians who've gone through these kinds of situations, and it's beyond words, the kind of suffering and the kind of pain and the kind of just tiredness of everything and all the stuff. It's beyond words. But here's the challenge. I'll push back a little bit. And I'll say, when we ask God, why are you doing this? Or why aren't you doing that? We are potentially putting ourselves into a place of lack of self-awareness, where I don't recognize that I'm just a human living in this world. I'm this tiny speck of a being trying to challenge how God is running his universe. This is a humility that we desperately need. I mean, it will save us from falling into horrible deception, because anyone can look around and add up the horrific things they see happening in the world and conclude that either God doesn't exist or I don't like him.
Interesting. I give him credit for willing to tackle a hard question like this, and it's obvious that he's been, very emotionally affected by it. And, in a way, this question is kind of like a thread that you're pulling on like a piece of clothing, because if you say, okay, why does God let this happen? And if you could actually communicate with God and God said, okay, no more children get cancer. They'll get it when they're a teenager instead. Well, that's okay, but I mean, or they'll get it when they're 10 years old or 15. They'll get it when they turn 16. Well, that's not much better. Okay, well then they'll get it when they turn 21. Well, no, I don't want. Okay, then 30. And eventually you get to the point of, well, why does God let anyone get cancer? Well, you know, eh, I mean, it's not really a good answer for that either. And if you get down to the root of this question, it's like, why does God allow any bad things to happen at all? Well, I don't know. I'm glad that I'm not in this person's position. This is why I'm not a Christian, because questions like this trouble me.
Anyone can do that if they feel like they have the place to make the proper judgment. So let me give you an example. Me and my wife like watching cooking shows, and we were watching Iron Chef, which I think is a real fun cooking show. And we're watching this show, and one of the complaints about Iron Chef was, I don't think it's still running, or maybe it is, I don't know. We're watching reruns. And one of the complaints about the show was that the judges, you have these incredible chefs cooking, but frequently the judges, it'll be like one or maybe two real food critics who know food, and then it'll be like an actor or like a producer, like some random famous person. And they'll look at the food and they'll judge it poorly. Now the chefs are incredibly skilled and they make it really well. And then I've seen people look at the food and they go, oh, well, it's just kind of weird to me, It just kind of tastes strange to me. Like I haven't had that before, and I don't know, what's this sauce called again, and they're just.
You don't have to be a 5-star chef to know something tastes bad. Just saying.
The thing is, they're judging, and this is what struck a lot of people as odd with the show, is that they have these famous people for ratings who are judging expert chefs to see who is the best expert chef in this scenario. I don't blame the famous person for saying yes to go on the show and have a good time, but the producers of the show should have known better. Like somebody should have been like,
how is this related?
Hey, you're not in a place where you're informed enough to make a proper judgment about this issue.
Oh, okay.
And so what I'm going to suggest is, when I evaluate and look at the world, I'm not in a place to make an informed and right judgment on God, on how he's running things. Not in my knowledge, I don't know enough. Not in my wisdom, I don't understand things well enough, even the things I do know. Right? And not in my perspective, because I'm looking at it from this moment. And I can't tell you how many times in life I've grown out of a difficult season and I look back at it so differently. When I was in the middle, all I wanted was out of it. But I look back, and some of those seasons, I'm glad I went through it, even though it was horrific at the time. It's hard for me to hear myself say that because I've been through some stuff, right? And you have too.
Yes, I have.
Some of that stuff I look back and I go, gosh, if I could undo that, I don't know that I would. It brought so much character into my life and other things that happened, other goods, even though that was bad. And so what I'm going to say is, we lack perspective. As a Christian, what you have one tool that will help you in this. You have multiple tools. One of them is, God has a plan for the future, not just the present.
And his plan includes children getting leukemia and dying.
And if you evaluate the present, like the current condition, like say kids getting cancer, like that's the whole story, then you just think this is ad infinitum, right? It's always going to go on this way forever. God, I can't stand that. I can't handle that. I reject that. I reject you. But if you realize that a new heaven and a new earth are coming, this is Christianity. If Christianity is true, a new heaven and a new earth are coming where righteousness dwells. Well, you will see that child that had cancer living in fuller life than they ever even would have had on earth. You'll see them running and playing and
Okay, I hate to break it to you, but in a few billion years, the sun is going to turn into a red giant, and it's going to swallow up the planet Mercury, and the heat that now resonates from the sun in this new larger form, because it's going to become much larger, is going to burn up everything on the earth to where there can be no more life on there except for probably extremophiles or tardigrades. So there's no new earth coming. I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but the earth is going to be destroyed. Not by God, by the sun. And so your analogy is interesting, but it is somewhat of a non-answer, because you're effectively saying, I don't know. And I don't know what kind of comfort that could possibly provide somebody going through this situation. And the answer that I could give, in my opinion, is not going to be very much more, not going to be comforting either. But in my opinion, I think the emptiness of thinking that there's a God who could just immediately fix this and doesn't is actually worse than thinking, well, there's no God. We live in a reality where probabilities and chance are simply part of it, and out of every million children born, there's going to be a certain percentage who unfortunately have genetic disorders and who succumb to diseases like cancer. And it's unfortunate, but our family was one of that percentage. And it's not because we did anything wrong. It's not because the child did anything wrong or there's anything wrong with the child. It's just statistically, it's going to happen to a certain number of families based on the way our DNA replicates. There's going to be coding errors. There's going to be replication errors that can sometimes do nothing, or sometimes they can cause beneficial things, and sometimes they can cause really terrible mutations and deformities or diseases. And it's just the sort of bad luck of the draw. That's, uh, you know, but the idea that, I don't know, to me, the idea that a God allowed this to happen and that he planned for it to happen, it's part of his plan. So think about the things that you plan for. You plan for a camping trip. You plan for a date night. You plan for your child's future, college, you plan for a promotion. You don't plan that a child should get cancer. How does that come into a plan? What possible benefit could that have as a plan? And even if, when the new heaven and the new earth comes, the child will be running around and frolicking. Okay, well, I would prefer that if he could do that now while I'm here. And that's only if Christianity is true, so that's a big if. It just seems like not a very satisfying answer, because there is no good answer. And this type of questions is kind of how I wonder how anybody can be a Christian. Because I would just be too bothered by this stuff. I don't know.
having relationships and enjoying the best existence there could be in the new heaven and new earth. And only those who want to be with God and want holiness will be there. It'll be perfect. It'll be wonderful. It'll be holy, and it will last forever. So when you compare that eternal glory to the current suffering, even of, say, a child with cancer, it changes your perspective. So I think I lack the wisdom. I lack the knowledge. I don't really know what's fully going on in the world. I only know the things I'm thinking about right now. I don't really have the wisdom to evaluate those things the way I probably need to. I tend to evaluate with my gut, especially when it comes to suffering. And I don't have the perspective that I will have later when I'm in his presence. And so those things to me change everything. I'll add to this. Christianity has an answer to children who get cancer and terminal illness.
That rhymes.
Outside of Christianity, what on earth is your answer? I have a hope. I have a hope for them. I believe that children, when they pass, they're going to be in the presence of the Lord, and they're going to live eternally.
The answer is science, okay? Medical science. So while right now there is no answer in terms of saving someone's life 100% of the time. Your answer is, if Christianity is true, a new heaven and new earth are coming, and that child will frolic around in the grass and pick flowers and play around with puppy dogs. Well, my answer as an atheist is, well, in the future, medical science is going to continue to advance, and we're going to keep learning how to cure diseases. We're going to keep developing vaccines. And like, think about what could a if 100 years ago somebody said, why does God allow children to get smallpox? And you said, well, I don't know, but a new heaven and a new earth are coming, and that child will not have smallpox, and he'll be frolicking in the grass. And I said, well, 100 years from now, a vaccine will be developed, and we will eradicate smallpox thanks to medical science, not thanks to religion, not thanks to Christianity. We're not waiting on a new heaven and a new earth. Scientists did the work and developed the vaccine, and we eradicated smallpox. Mostly. There are still, I think, some cases of it, but it's damn near gone from the face of the earth, which is incredible. And medical science will only continue to advance. So, and it's like, why doesn't God heal amputees? Well, medical science has developed better and better artificial limb technology to where one day a child could have a robotic arm or leg that is just as functional and cosmetically identical to a normal leg, But the idea of a new heaven and a new earth, it's not, I don't know. To say that your answer is better than an atheist answer, no. Try again.
Eternally. Enjoy. I have a video on that, by the way, where I think I show you where the Bible teaches that. I have an answer for that. Christians have an answer for these horrific situations of life, whereas outside of that, I don't know what your answer is. So
I just gave it.
Number 6.
Okay, so we have one more question, and we have one more, and that's gonna do it for the stream, guys. So thank you guys for sticking around and watching.
They didn't want it, they would burn them on altars to Molech, turn it into a religious offering. And that's humans are just that bad. We do this. So we're pro-life. Okay, I'm pro-life. Christians should be pro-life because man was made in the image of God. Therefore, you can't just go around killing people, killing humans. Well, I don't think they're persons at that age. Okay, well, good guess. Go ahead and kill them because you think maybe they're not really persons yet. That's insane moral reasoning, but that's where people go. On the other side, we have the issue of gay people adopting. What's the issue there? Well, I think the issue there is here's a value behind it. The value behind it is that proper families are a
quote unquote
a husband and wife.
Says who? Says the Bible? Why do I care what the Bible says? How is that better? Period. Like, you can't say that it's a proper family and that's the only proper family.
Who have their own children. This is a proper family. Now you have
so if a husband and wife they're straight and the wife is infertile and they adopt, that's not a proper family? Is that what he just implied? Because he said a man and a wife who are married have their own children, that's a proper family. That's messed up, bro.
A non-standard family, like say adoption, you at least would like to put them into the best family situation you can. That's a good value.
Exactly. That's why gay adoption is a good thing, because you want to give the child the best option available. And I will say that having a mom and a dad is better than a single parent, obviously. But having two is better than one. Two heads are better than one. So you can't tell me that being in an orphanage or being with a single parent is a better situation than being with two dads or two moms. Who cares?
But with the idea of gay people adopting, to me, the issue is this: I want kids to be in the best situation, I'm in a minority here, but I can see how if there's a lack, if there's like, say we have 10,000 kids that need to be adopted and we only have 9,000 couples that will adopt. And so then we start looking for non-standard families. We go, hey, are there single people that are willing to adopt? Are there gay people that are willing to adopt? Is there anyone that's willing to adopt? Because that's
Why is being gay non-standard?
probably better than foster care, most likely.
What about a here's a pickle for you. What about a man and woman who are married, but the man is bisexual? Does that make it a non-standard family?
And I could be wrong here, but I'm just saying I'm open to the idea. But adoption should prioritize.
What about a man a someone who is assigned male at birth get assigned female at birth, get transitions to be a trans man and marries a woman who was assigned male at birth, and the trans man gets pregnant and they have their own child. Is that still a standard family? Because they have their own child and it's a man and a woman. Well, he wouldn't say they're a man and a woman. It's still technically a man and a woman, even in his own bigoted viewpoint. So that's still technically a man and a woman who had their own child.
Is the best family situation for the child. What we sometimes do, and this is my pushback against the pro-gay agenda here, but we sometimes
The pro-gay agenda.
do is we promote like the life experience and the life journey of the parents trying to adopt, instead of realizing that adopting is for children, not for parents.
What? It benefits both parties. What?
Like the kids are the important thing. This is the same thing with abortion. The kids are more important here than people realize. The same thing with adoption. We should prioritize, and since, from my understanding, in the U.S. at least, there are miles of lines of good qualified families ready to adopt. Why on earth would I prioritize a family that doesn't have a mom? Or
Wow, you're just kind of a bigot, aren't you? Why would you not? Why would you not? I mean, I'm not saying they should get a priority. I'm saying they should have the same opportunities. That's all that people are asking for here. They want to have equal opportunities. But they can't even be equal in the eyes of society because of this stigma that you're perpetuating. It's just, he puts on this friendly air, like he's such a nice guy, but he's really not. He's really kind of a jerk.
doesn't have a dad. Moms and dads are important. They're not just, you can't just exchange two dads for a dad and a mom.
Says who? Says who? There are mom and dad parents who are horrible parents, right? Who are horrible parents, who should not be parents. And there are gay couples and lesbian couples and couples with trans or non-gender conforming people, non-binary people who could make great parents. Have you not seen Modern Family? Okay? Their family is precious, okay? Don't tell me you haven't seen Modern Family.
Not for the sake of that kid. So in a non-optimal way, when you have kids who are just going to be stuck in orphanages that might especially be unhealthy, right? Or foster care if it's not a good environment, which often it's not, then I'm open to the idea. Because hey, is it at least better than this?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. But I mean, that's like your last resort. Only in that situation is it better. So what he's saying is that a gay couple raising a kid is not equal to a straight couple. It's equal to it's the lesser of two evils.
But don't for a second pretend that two men are an equivalent of a man and a woman raising a child. Just think.
On Modern Family, there is a two men. There's a gay couple, and they adopt a little Vietnamese girl, I think, and she's adorable. You know, it's very cute, and they're like great parents. Like they go out of their way to be great parents because of this stigma. They feel like we need to be the best. We need to be the best parents possible and give off that image, not just because they love their adopted daughter, but because to make up for, because they one of the guy's father is very conservative. He's played by the guy from uh, All in the Family, and he doesn't, he's always feeling like he can't impress his dad, so he feels like we need to be like overly good as parents.
If those of you who had a mom and dad both around, they both matter, didn't they? Right? And unless they were abusive or something like that, you're going to say, no, you need both of those. They're really important for you as a child. So I think we're just prioritizing the life of the child and the responsibility adults have to take care of children when we say we want adoption to go towards a one man, one woman who have a stable relationship and can provide the best upbringing for that kid. Yeah, moms and dads are not interchangeable.
Okay, counterpoint, if moms are so great, then shouldn't two moms be even greater, or two dads? I mean, I like how he just says this as if it's just something that is common sense that everybody already knows, and it's just fact. He doesn't explain his position. Uh, it's really kind of nasty, you know? Okay, so that is the last question that I was going to look at. So I want to say thank you so much to the people in the live chat. I really appreciate all of my viewers. I've gotten a lot of new subscribers recently. The channel is almost to 5,500 subs, which is crazy. Thank you so much. Thank you, thank you, thank you. The channel is growing like hotcakes. So yeah, if you would like to see me respond to some new channels, please post the links down in the comments. You should be able to post links down there, but let me know if your comment gets hit by YouTube. Sometimes that happens. But thank you to all the people in the live chat. Thank you for watching, and thank you to the people who support me on Patreon. If you want to support my content past just watching, subscribing, clicking like, or commenting, engaging with it, you can support in a monetary way, and you could visit my Patreon at patreon.com/atheistjunior. Look at the tiers, see the benefits, and think about it, and consider pledging as low as $1 per month. That unlocks access to early videos, exclusive live streams, one-on-one live streams.